Here are two sentences about the same charity. Last year, we supported 4,317 people across 9 programs, and a boy called Sam had not spoken in class for a year. And last Tuesday, he put his hand up. One of those sentences is impressive and forgettable. The other you will remember tomorrow. That is the strange, frustrating truth about numbers and stories. The numbers prove your work matters, but the stories make people care. And most charities are fluent in one and clumsy with the other. The best fundraising does not choose. It weaves a single human story together with the numbers that show it is not a one-off, so the reader feels something and then trusts that the feeling scales. This video is about how to do exactly that, how to tell stories with data so your impact both moves people and convinces them. One honest note first, this is educational content only. We are not affiliated with anything, and nothing here is legal or financial advice, so always report your own numbers truthfully and check anything that matters with the official source. Why numbers alone never move anyone. Let us start with a hard fact about human beings. We are terrible at filling numbers. Tell someone that 4,000 people were helped, and their heart does not move, because a big number is an abstraction, and the mind slides off it the way it slides off the distance to the sun. Worse, there is a well-known and slightly heartbreaking effect where the more people a statistic describes, the less we seem to care, because a single sufferer is a tragedy, while 1,000 is a spreadsheet. So a report stuffed with impressive figures, however true and however hard-won, tends to leave the reader admiring and unmoved, which is to say, not reaching for their wallet. This is not because your supporters are cold. It is because that is simply how human attention works. Numbers are the language of proof, and proof is necessary. But proof was never what made anyone care about anything, and pretending otherwise is why so many impact reports go unread. Why stories alone are not enough either. Now the other side, because it is just as true, and charities that discover the power of story sometimes overcorrect into it. A single moving story, told well, will make a reader care in a way no figure ever could, but a story on its own leaves a quiet, nagging question. Is this just one lucky case? A cynical part of every donor wonders whether you found the one child who did well and built a whole appeal around her, while the rest of the work is invisible. Story creates feeling, but it does not by itself create confidence that their money buys this outcome reliably, again and again. That is precisely the doubt that numbers answer. So story without data can feel like an anecdote, a hard tug you are not sure you can trust. The magic is not story instead of numbers, nor numbers instead of story. It is the two together, each doing the job the other simply cannot. The one plus many patterns. Here is the pattern that does the work, and once you see it, you will notice it in every great appeal. One plus many. You lead with one, a single named person, a single moment, told vividly enough to make the reader feel something real. Then, and only then, you widen to the many. And Sam is one of 200 children we helped find their voice this year. The story opens the heart, and the number reassures the head that the feeling is safe to trust, that Sam is not a fluke but a fair example of what your supporters make possible. The order matters, feeling first, proof second, because a number that arrives after you already care lands completely differently from one that arrives cold. This simple move, one real person followed by the honest scale behind them, is the entire craft of storytelling, with data in a single sentence, and it costs you nothing but the discipline to do it in that order. Make one number the hero. When you do reach for data, resist the urge to pour out everything you measured, because a wall of statistics is just another abstraction, and the reader drowns. Instead, choose one number to be the hero, the single figure that best captures the difference you make, and let it stand almost alone. One striking, well-chosen statistic, given room to breathe, is remembered, while 20 crammed together are all forgotten equally. Pick the one that matters most, the number that would make a stranger raise an eyebrow, and build around it. You can keep the rest for an appendix or a funders report, where completeness genuinely matters. But in the message meant to move an ordinary supporter, one hero number beats a dozen every time. Ask yourself, if the reader forgets everything else, which single figure do I want left in their mind? Lead with that one, and let the others rest quietly in the background. Turn a statistic into a picture. A number becomes powerful the moment you turn it into something a person can actually picture, because the human mind thinks in images, not in digits. 92% is forgettable, but 9 out of every 10 children who came to us are now reading at their expected level paints a room full of children you can almost see. Do not say we served large numbers of meals. Say that is a hot meal on the table every single evening for 300 families all year. The trick is to translate the abstract figure into a scene, a concrete, sensory, everyday image the reader can hold in their head. Round numbers gently for clarity where honesty allows, and always ask, what does this number look like in real life? Then describe that. A statistic you can see is a statistic that stays, and one that stays is one that quietly does its persuasive work long after the reader has closed your email. Comparisons people can feel. Some numbers are too big or too unfamiliar to feel anything about, and the fix is comparison, placing your figure next to something the reader already understands in their bones. If a service costs £40, say it costs less than most people spend on coffee in a month, and suddenly the figure has a size the reader can sense. If you helped enough people to fill the local football stadium twice over, that lands harder than the raw count, because the reader has stood in a crowd and knows what that many people looks like. Comparisons work because they borrow a feeling the reader already has and lend it to your number. Choose comparisons that are honest and familiar to your particular audience, not clever or strained, because a forced comparison distracts while a true one clarifies. Done well, this one technique turns a figure that meant nothing into one that suddenly, physically means something. Show the change, not just the total. There is a difference between a number that describes activity and a number that describes change, and supporters care about change. We ran 200 sessions is activity. It tells them you were busy, but busy is not the same as effective. Reading levels rose from below average to above in 9 months out of 10 is change, and change is what their money is really buying. So wherever you honestly can, show a before and an after, a movement, a difference your work made, rather than only a total of things you did. This is harder, because measuring change takes more effort than counting activity, but it is far more convincing because it answers the question donors quietly care about most. Did it actually work? Even a simple, honest before and after, told about one person and then backed by the wider figure, is worth more than any list of how many events you held or leaflets you handed out. Honest data or none at all. This is the most important section in the video, so slow down for it. The instant you start using numbers to persuade, you take on a duty to use them truthfully. Because a moving story built on a bent statistic is not clever marketing. It is a betrayal of the trust that lets charities exist at all. Never inflate a figure. Never present activity as if it were outcome. Never quietly drop the year that went badly. And never imply that one person's story is typical if it is not. If you do not measure something well yet, say so honestly. We think this is helping, and here is what we are seeing so far, which supporters respect far more than false precision. Show your numbers in context, and never strip away the caveat that makes them true. It is genuinely better to have a modest, honest number than an impressive, misleading one, because your reputation for telling the truth is the most valuable asset your charity owns, and a single exposed exaggeration can cost you all of it. A simple chart your supporters understand. Sometimes a picture of the data helps, but only if it is simple, because a confusing chart is worse than no chart at all. For a supporter audience, the rule is one chart, one message. A single bar comparing before and after. A simple line showing something rising over time. A clear proportion shown as a filled shape, each making one point a reader grasps in 2 seconds. Avoid the cluttered dashboards and rainbow pie charts that belong in a funders report, because your ordinary supporter will not study them. They will glance and move on. Label it in plain words, give it a title that states the point, rather than the topic. Reading is up, not reading levels, and make sure the honest story it tells matches the story in your words. If a chart needs a paragraph of explanation, it has failed. When in doubt, a single vivid sentence often beats a graph entirely. So use charts sparingly and only where they genuinely make one thing clearer, where the numbers actually belong. Finally, let us place all this in the real world, because storytelling with data is not only for the annual report. The same one plus many move works everywhere your charity speaks. In a fundraising email, open with Sam and close with the 200. On social media, pair one photo and one human line with a single striking figure. On your donate page, put one honest number near the button so the gift feels grounded in proof at the moment of decision. In a grant application, lead the case with a story and support it with the fuller data a funder rightly wants. The register changes. More story for the public, more numbers for the funder. But the principle holds. Feeling and proof together. One real person and the honest scale behind them. Once you learn to weave the two, you will find yourself doing it in every message, and everything your charity says will land harder for this. Quick recap. Let us bring it together. Numbers prove your work matters, but rarely make anyone care. And stories make people care, but leave a doubt about whether one case is typical. So the answer is always both, woven together. Lead with one, a single real person told vividly. Then widen to the many with an honest number that shows the feeling is safe to trust. Make one well-chosen figure the hero rather than drowning people in a dozen. Turn it into a picture they can see, and use familiar comparisons to give big numbers a size they can feel. Show change, not just activity. Above all, keep every numbers scrupulously honest, because your reputation for truth is your most valuable asset. Use simple one-message charts sparingly, and weave story and data into every place your charity speaks. There is something rather hopeful in all this, because it means the most powerful impact communication is not the one with the biggest budget or the slickest design. It is the one told with the most honesty and the most care. A tiny charity that can introduce us to one real person and then quietly show us the honest number behind her will move supporters more than a huge organization reciting statistics into the void. You already have the stories. They are happening in your work every day, and you already have the numbers. You have just not been weaving them together. So here is your simple start. This week, take your single best statistic and your single best story and write one short paragraph that puts them together. One person first, the honest number second. Read it aloud and you will feel the difference immediately. Remember that everything here is educational only. We are not affiliated with anything, and nothing here is legal or financial advice. So always report your own numbers truthfully and check anything important with the official source. If this helped, subscribe for more practical, honest charity marketing you can actually use, and take a look at the free written guide linked below. We will keep turning big, intimidating topics into calm, doable steps, one video at a time.